You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. I am show producer Killa Kev, sitting in this week for the bearded wonder Zane Paisley, who has the unfortunate circumstance of being forced to attend a company Christmas party. We are so sorry, Zane. Please drink as much liquor as you can to try to get through this awful night, and we will get back in touch with you next week. But I am not alone, because at the other end of this digital tin can and string is our other co-host, the incredible Hook, William Huckabee. Good evening, sir.
What's going on, Killer Kev? I'm having a good week. I'm having a good day. I don't know so much about Zane. I've been to a lot of company Christmas parties, and it's usually the ones that you don't want to go to, that they force you to go to, are the ones that are the most horrible. What do you think?
I've never been forced to go to a company Christmas party. I've never worked for a company that's ever thrown a company Christmas party. They've never been that wealthy, or either that or people just aren't interested. So I have no idea about this work Christmas party culture. It's all entirely foreign to me. And I'm a homebody anyway, so it just sounds like torture.
It really is. I'm going to say, usually, for the good Christmas, when you work for a really good company and they have the Christmas party, it's a time for you and your coworkers to kind of unwind and, and drink. And if if y'all get along, you have Secret Santa and everybody gives gifts to each other and stuff. But if you go to, a company where they force you to go to the company Christmas party. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Zane actually had to pay to go to this one, which is even worse. Then it's just a big, huge, dog and pony show, and everybody kissed the boss's ass. And you're just sitting there looking at the clock, or in today's modern era, you're looking at your cell phone, trying to figure out when's a good time for you to bail out on everybody.
Yeah, I have no idea about any of that at all, so it just sounds horrible.
Yes, it really is. But our condolences, Zane. Can't wait to see you back, and can't wait to talk to you again next week, man. Anyway, so Kev, another wrestling week down the drain. How was your weekend?
My weekend was okay. It was quiet. I didn't do a lot, which is okay with me. My whole week stays busy enough as it is, so a little bit of downtime didn't hurt me at all.
See, that's the exact opposite of me, because usually during the week it's pretty relaxed for me. And then the weekends for me, like around Thursday is when it starts getting busy for me. This weekend, I actually just had one show. I was in Elizabeth City. We talked to last week's guest, Wildman Congo and stuff. And we were in Elizabeth City for Next Evolution Wrestling, where I was the first ever Next Evolution Wrestling champion and stuff. And I made my huge return after about 2 years to Elizabeth City, which is really, really good. The crowd wasn't as big as, of course, you always hope it would be, but they had a nice crowd, very loud, hot crowd. It was me and somebody that I've looked up to for years, this great guy from Virginia, Diamond Victor Griff, who I've watched in amazement and wonder since I first started training in wrestling. I actually was fortunate enough to team up with him against Tough Guy Inc., against ROH's Tough Guy Inc. Tim Hughes and Brutal Bob Evans are, as those of us in the wrestling world like to call him, Uncle Bob. Before the show, though, he had the Hangs with Bob seminar and stuff, and I got there late. My daughter was in the Christmas parade here in my hometown and stuff, so I had to watch my daughter throw candy at kids like she was Nolan Ryan. She's riding her little float trying to break the world sound record or whatever with candy. But after that, I got to the seminar, and of course, as usual, every time I've been to, this is probably like my fourth Hangs with Bob seminar. And every time I go to one of the seminars, I learn something different. There's always at least one or two things that I picked up that I didn't know before, that I didn't think about. And this past weekend was no exception. Kudos to all of the gentlemen, especially a lot of the green guys, a lot of the green wrestlers and stuff, who showed up for the seminar and actually got to get in the ring and work out with Bob and Wildman Congo and Tim Hughes and stuff, and, further their wrestling acumen. But yeah, so the show was really good. We had a really, I guess, nothing really complicated. You know, I'm not a spot monkey kind of guy, or as Jim Cornette would say, I'm not one of those flippity-do wrestlers, although I can do that, but had a very good, solid match, against Tough Guy Inc. They came out with the win. Actually, they got the pin on me, which was actually pretty bad, because I was like the biggest guy in the match. But they actually got the pin on me, so I guess not everybody can say they were pinned by Tim Hughes and Brutal Bob Evans and stuff at 290 pounds. It was pretty bad, Cass. But that was my wrestling weekend, you know. And then Sunday, afterwards, you know, Next Evolution Wrestling had their Christmas party. Speaking of Christmas parties, Next Evolution Wrestling had their Christmas party. Was hanging out with a lot of guys. Somebody that I haven't seen in a while, I'm actually going to post this picture up after we're done with this podcast, is this gentleman from Virginia named Ace Montana. Amazing wrestler. Like, you know, this kid is, I'm going to call him a kid because when I met him, he was 18 and he was already working. He's been working now for about almost 12, 13 years. He has more time in the business than I do. He's about 28, 29. It's like a young version of Dusty Rhodes with the build, the attitude, the look, the cowboy boots. You know, like he acts so great in the ring, man. Actually, if anybody follows Tim Hughes on social media, he actually made a status about Ace Montana saying that Ace Montana was one of his new favorite wrestlers. So people need to check him out. I think that in 2017, they're going to see a lot of Ace Montana up and down the East Coast or possibly in ROH. Who else was there? Oh, ROH standout, you know, new guy to ROH roster, Preston Quinn, the Pain Train, was there in the tag team match. It was him and Who was it? I want to say it was him and Mike Booth versus Brandon Day. No, I'm sorry, it was him and Brandon Day versus Bo Crockett and Ace Montana in the main event. Really cool main event. The most entertaining part of that main event was actually Ace Montana having a wrestling match against the Turnbuckle. You just, when the film comes out, I'm going to send it to you, Kev, you got to see it. It was freaking amazing. So entertaining. Last week's guest, Wildman Congo, was there against, you know, Phil Brown, who trained, not only Preston Quinn, but the NWA National Champion Damian Wayne. And that match was everything I said it was going to be last week, Kev. It was hard hitting, a lot of furious strikes, a lot of hard hitting action. Those two guys can move. And I tell you right now, man, Phil Brown has one of the sweetest touches in professional wrestling, period. I mean, he throws it like, you know, he's trying to knock your teeth out, and it just looks amazing, man. Like, Jesus. He has some of the sweetest punches.
So, sounds like you had a busy weekend.
I did. I got super drunk, too. At the NEW Christmas party. Now, let people behind the curtain a little bit. It happened at the promoter's house, the Andersons. I'm not going to put their first names out there, but it happened at their house and stuff. A lot of very close friends, people I haven't seen in a while and stuff, were all there. You know, of course, we're talking wrestling and favorite matches and people that we look up to and everything. And there was alcohol and food and more alcohol. And some kind of way, I ended up drinking so much that I passed out on the back porch. And they all thought that I had disappeared. And there was a huge manhunt for me at like 8 o'clock in the morning because somebody knew I disappeared too. And I was just like passed out in the deck chair in the back porch. And it was like 17 degrees outside. That's how drunk I got, kid.
Yeah, that sounds pretty drunk to me. So, you know, we're getting ready to come up on Christmas this next coming week. Do you got anything planned coming up other than staying at home and chilling with the family for Christmas?
This weekend, I don't. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I do not have anything planned. Although there are a lot, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of really good shows going on. I know, without a shadow of a doubt, I know that Firestar Pro Wrestling presents Zone 1, and that's actually happening on Christmas night. A lot of my friends from the Georgia area, Kid Lee, Chris Crunk, Austin Theory, who's a trainee at WWA 4, LeBron Cozone, who is, you can catch him on AML. A lot of those guys will be wrestling that night on Christmas night. In my opinion, and Kev, you can tell me, you know, we're around the same age, professional wrestling and Christmas go together like peanut butter and jelly. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's, for a lot of communities around the United States and around the world, a wrestling show at Christmas is just tradition.
Exactly. I've never actually wrestled on Christmas, mainly because I have kids and stuff also. But I know a lot of the boys do. I mean, maybe if I got, somebody, the opportunity was right or whatever, I would definitely wrestle on Christmas. But, besides Thanksgiving, I think as a child growing up, besides Thanksgiving, I always look forward to Christmas night because Jim Crockett Promotions was always going to run a wrestling show or pay-per-view or whatever on Christmas night. Well, is that about correct?
Either on or right around.
Yeah, so I really remember a lot of Starcades or Clash of Champions, whatever it was back in the day, happening right around the Christmas season. I know, like, Vince McMahon always had, and I feel bad for the kids nowadays, a lot of young people nowadays, because growing up, the best part for me on Thanksgiving was not the turkey, was not the food. It was that, later on that evening, it was Survivor Series and stuff. It was going to get to see, like, some amazing matches from, like, some of the craziest teams ever put together on the face of God's green earth. But I think that, I don't know, what do you think is the reason for, wrestling and holidays? Like, why do people love wrestling so much around the holidays?
Because they've got the time off to enjoy it. I think that's pretty much it, and if you think back in years past, before we had the internet, before we were a more connected society, I mean, really, once it gets around to holiday times, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, if you were in the city, it, pretty much shut down, and if you weren't in the city, there wasn't anything going on anyway. So there's plenty of downtime, not a lot of things to do, perfect opportunity for a promoter to run a show and for something for people to do.
Yeah, and I think that Hollywood has kind of, stolen our gimmick, because if you notice now, there are so many movies that open up on Christmas Eve and Christmas, that, so people, it's time to go eat, like, we're done with Christmas dinner, let's go to the movies. But nowadays, man, a fucking movie ticket costs, anywhere from $10 to $15 to go see a new movie on opening night. I'd much rather take that $10 and get my kids and whatever and go see, 2.5, 3 hours of really good wrestling.
Yeah, it's, other entertainment opportunities have definitely cut in.
Exactly. Now, speaking of opportunities, Kev, I know we talked about it off the air and stuff. A lot of really good tag teams, a lot of indie tag teams, especially from the North Carolina area, got a chance to make their national TV debut this past Thursday night. For everybody listening and stuff, hopefully you've already by now you've seen and you've had a chance to watch the tag team Apocalypso. Put on at the Hardy Compound right here in North Carolina and stuff, man. In my opinion, first of all, before I even talk about the show, I'm going to talk about a lot of the guys that I personally know that I want to say congratulations to for getting a chance to be on national TV, whether their part was really, really small and they only had like 30 seconds of their time, or they actually had a match. Jeff Hardy actually debuted a new persona, Tweed, with 3 E's. I guess he's like a lawnmower, like a crazy redneck hillbilly like landscaper who makes paintings with a weed whacker or something like that. I'm not too sure. But he debuted that gimmick against CWF standout and North Carolina indie wrestler Chet Sterling. Congratulations to Chet. First of all, he's my homeboy. I love Chet. I'm so glad that he got the opportunity to actually have an actual match on TNA. Did a really good job and stuff. Took a really serious bump. Kev, like, they set the ring up in basically a storage building on the Hardy compound. They invited like 50 close personal friends, fans, neighbors, whatever you want to call them. They only invited like 50 people to watch this live. No pads. It's a concrete floor, no pads around the ring, nothing. And they just had the matches. It was a regular show. They had broadcasters, they had entranceway, they had smoke. A lot of smoke. Jeez, there was so much smoke. and they just put together a show. You know, some of the people that you saw in the crowd was, well, I won't call out anybody that was in the crowd, but I'll just talk about the wrestlers. How about that? But Chet Sterling got to face Jeff Hardy's new persona Tweed. ODB made her comeback against this one chick, I can't remember the girl's name, some crazy looking girl, but ODB made her comeback. My favorite match besides the Tag Team Apocalypto was Rockstar Spud. Was the first match for King Maxwell, which is Matt Hardy's 1-year-old, 2-year-old, although he looks like he might be 3 or 4-ish, whatever. The Rockstar Spud put over a 2-year-old in the 2-year-old's debut match. It was pretty cool. But for the Tag Team Apocalypto, some of the tag teams that were there, besides the Hardys, besides the Rock and Roll Express, was the Bruiserweights, John Scholar, Corey Hollis, the Sandwich Squad from CWF, Mob Jig homie Aaron Biggs, Becca Mercenary, 2 guys I know very well. Let's see, the Ugly Ducklings. Speaking of Kobe Carino, we talk about him off the air. Kobe Carino, Lance Lou, Bob Killjoy, the Ugly Ducklings made their debut. So Lance Lou's already been on national TV with ROH, and Kobe Carino's been on TV and been known worldwide since he was a baby, being that he's the son of, wrestling legend and new WWE NXT trainer Steve Carino. He's been on national TV before. And Rob Killjoy. Who else is up there? White Mike, my home, like the funniest gimmick in North Carolina right now, Caucasian Mike. Had like 15 seconds maybe or of national airtime and like completely nailed it. Like people were talking about him for like 2-3 days afterwards, just his one little bit. People were talking about him for days afterwards. They also had Crazy Steve and Abyss was a part of the Tag Team Apocalypto. Andrew Everett, Trevor Lee, Shane Helms. I'm going to give you a spoiler real quick, Kevin. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. We saw the not so magnificent return of 3 Count at Tag Team Apocalypto.
Not so fabulous?
Not so fabulous return of 3 Count.
What made it not so fabulous?
The only original member of 3 Count that was there was Shane Helms. But it was, that little spot where it was Shane Helms, Andrew Everett, and Trevor Lee, and they actually had the little circle disc they used to dance on and stuff. And they actually did the routine, and now that I'm like, 15, 20 years down the road, I realize that they are horrible. That was like the worst dance ever. Like, God. I don't know if it's just, for the bumps and bruises that Shane Helm now has no rhythm in his hips or whatever, but it was bad. Jesus, it was horrible. They looked like 3 white guys who couldn't dance. But, let's see. The Dilapidated Boatman's return. Of course, Vanguard 1 was there. They had Roman candles and ladders and some kind of way, Ricky Morton ended up like 40, 50 feet in the air on like one of those skyjacks, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to watch it to figure out, because I still understand where they came from. But it was like Jeff Hardy, Ricky Morton, they're on opposites, like they're on, each one of them have like a little sky lift or whatever, and they're fighting across like the ring and stuff, above the ring, like 20 feet up. Jeff Hardy does a swanton off of this little sky lift, and Matt Hardy raises Ricky Morton like all the way up to a tie stand, like 40, 50 feet up in the air, and then somebody cuts the lights off. And they just, I don't know if it was a rib or what, but Ricky Morton kind of broke kayfabe. And that was it. Like, in my opinion, Tag Team Apocalypto is everything that professional wrestling should be. Of course, you're going to have these old timers and stuff. And no disrespect to say old timers. You have these vets, these 20, 30-year-old, 20, 30-year guys who are going to completely shit all over it. But in my opinion, the final deletion match, Tag Team Apocalypto, that's wrestling nowadays. People, that's entertainment. It's entertaining. It gets people talking about the product. Was it, a great technical masterpiece? Of course not. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to get your eyes on the product. It's supposed to get, the product over. It's supposed to get the product noticed. And it gives guys, a break in the business and stuff. It gives guys a chance to be seen. Guys who rightfully deserve it because they've been busting their butts in the indies or in TNA for months or years, gives them a chance to be seen and stuff. I completely and thoroughly enjoyed it myself. I hope this becomes like a yearly thing. The broken Matt Hardy character, in my opinion, keeps getting better and better and better. The only thing that could have made Tag Team Apocalypto better was if the Young Bucks would have showed up. That probably would have made my day. And maybe the New Day. Speaking of the New Day, you know, I don't know if you noticed or not, Kev, but they are no longer the WWE Tag Team Champions. Or Raw Tag Team Champions.
The longest reigning ever WWE Tag Team Champions have been dethroned. I'm aware they lost their titles at Roadblock, which was appropriately called End of the Road.
Yes. I don't know how I feel about that. We were just talking about it last week, how, you know, it was really good that Vince and Triple H and the creative team had basically put their faith in them, and it was like, okay, we gave you this shitty gimmick, you made it your own, you've become like one of our top sellers with merchandise and everything. Here's the ball, run with it, and then a week later, no, you changed your mind. Okay, we let you have the record, now give us the ball back, alright? I don't know how I feel about that. You know, I don't know if I like the fact that they basically barely beat the record, and as soon as the record's broken, alright, the next opportunity we have, we're taking the titles off you. Even though you haven't seen, I'm assuming that you haven't seen the match yet on the pay-per-view, Kev, but how do you feel about that?
Every record has to come to an end at some point, and just from my general reading of things, I'll be honest, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to WWE stuff in a while now, but from what I've been hearing, the current New Day gimmick has kind of gotten really long in the tooth. People don't find it interesting, entertaining as much anymore. So it was probably a time for it to come at the end. At the same time, though, the interest in Sheamus and Cesaro as a tag team has started to pick up. People are buying into the storyline now. It's becoming more compelling, more interesting. So I think a title change was due.
Oh, well, yeah. I think maybe that's what your title change, but maybe this will give the New Day a minute, and hopefully they'll be smart and they'll take them off the TV for a second. Not for a long time, but just long enough for them to come back and revamp. You know, put little tweaks to the gimmick and stuff. Come back, you know, maybe as heels, as they originally were supposed to be. Maybe as bigger baby faces. But they've been on TV so long and so consistently. Of course, you know, this was the territory days, and we were in Memphis. Shit, we did. You know, they dropped the titles. All right, you guys go to Portland. We'll see you in a year or two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, but we're not in the territories anymore, unfortunately. I mean, that would be a great idea. I really wish, in a way, that WWE had agreements set up with other smaller promotions to be able to do stuff like that. I mean, because, imagine, what if they went, like, on a 3 or 6 month tour of, say, Australia or the United Kingdom?
Exactly. They have, according to what I know, they have a working agreement with WWN, the World Wrestling Network and stuff, which is the home of Evolve and Dragon Gate and a couple of other companies and stuff. So it'd be really cool to see, you know, the New Day go down and, like you said, work these not so much smaller indies, but work with these indie companies and stuff. PWG, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Evolve, Dragon Gate. Have those guys work there for a second where they're still getting buzz, but they're not on national TV. And then they come back, you know, after, you know, a couple of months or whatever. They come back with a brand new attitude. Speaking also during the pay-per-view, somebody else, there was another title change. Sasha Banks, the boss, once again, and of course, I think it's starting to become a repetitive thing. She lost her title to Charlotte. I think this is starting to become kind of predictable where Sasha wins the title on Raw. She loses it, you know, within a month. On the next pay-per-view, she loses it back to Charlotte. I love the rivalry that these two ladies have. I hate the way that they're hot-shotting the title from one person to the other. I guess one person can make an argument saying that, hey, they're so evenly matched neck and neck that on any given day, this Charlotte can beat Sasha, Sasha can beat Charlotte. But I think that myself and the fans are starting to become kind of predictable to where we know, all right, Charlotte has the title. the next time they face on Raw, Sasha's going to win it, and at that very next pay-per-view, Charlotte's going to win it back. The ladies put on a fantastic Iron Woman's match. I'm not going to call it an Iron Man match, an Iron Woman's match. They put on a fantastic match. These ladies, once again, I can't toot their horn enough to say that these ladies are putting on some of the best wrestling matches on the card. I don't understand why the gentlemen in WWE are not paying attention. I don't know why they're not working harder. I don't know if these guys are not, I don't know if they're not threatened. If I was on that roster, I would be busting my ass to put on the best possible match, and begging Triple H to not have my match follow theirs. Because a lot of times the match after the women's match, especially on the pay-per-view, does not live up to the hype. It used to be when the women's match was the bathroom break and stuff, and you would see 15, 20,000 people give out their seats as soon as the women came on to go to the concession stand to the bathroom, and now it's the exact opposite. Now when these ladies are coming out to the ring, you see fans rush their seats because you have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, on one hand, there's that, there absolutely is that, but just for me personally, they have completely overkilled this. It was great to see them have that rivalry. It was great to see them push it, until they got a main event match. But then I think they needed to back off, and instead of backing off, they put their foot on the gas, and what I'm afraid of is that this is completely burned out. And talking to some other wrestling fans online, they're burned out by this feud already. And that's really unfortunate because WWE really has just pushed it too much. What they needed to do was let them feud, let them have a hot match, back it off for a few weeks, and then start building it up again. They don't need a match every week, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks. They don't need to keep doing that. I understand they are great wrestlers. They put together a great program. We don't need it all at once. It would be a lot better if we had a match between them, say every 6 to 8 weeks. And they keep advancing the game a little bit more. First you got a main event match. Then 8 weeks later, they got a steel cage match. Then 8 weeks later, they've got the Iron Man match. Let it keep building and building and building slowly. And while you're doing that, build some other stuff around that as well in that division. Right now it just feels like the only thing that matters in this division for the last 3 months has been Sasha and Charlotte. And what are they going to do when the fans finally burn out on that? There's not going to be any more Sasha and Charlotte to wrestle, but it doesn't appear like they're building anything else up either.
See, the bad thing is that they have Bayley, they have Nia Jax, who else they have? I mean, they have the ladies on Raw, they're on SmackDown, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, like you said, like the fans are like foaming at the bit. They're chopping at the bit to see Bayley in a main event match. I seen a meme the other day where it said, it was a picture of Bayley where it said, has the potential to be the most over babyface in the history of professional wrestling, won't ever be given a shot, or being held back or something like that. Well, basically, the fans are saying, hey, we want to see Bayley. We know what Bayley can do. We know what Nia Jax can do. Let these ladies in the match too. I would love to see a comment still on what you're saying, Kev. Instead of seeing Sasha and Charlotte every 8 weeks or whatever, that's a 3 to 4 month match. That's a 3 to 4 month build that you could put, Bayley and Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss and all these other ladies into the mix to build up to, and it should be, like you said, progression. They get, they've had the main event at NXT. You give them the main event at pay-per-view. The next match is, an Iron Man match. A Texas or a dog collar match. And it has to build up, all into WrestleMania to where, all right, now we're putting these two ladies in a cage match or a Hell in a Cell, whatever the case may be. Hopefully somebody creative. Fit Finley and stuff and whoever, and Sarah Del Rey and stuff down there at the NXT training camp and this stuff is doing a great job with these ladies. We cannot say without shadow of a doubt, we definitely can both agree that the women's matches, technical-wise, is 1,000 times better than what it was, 5-10 years ago. But I would like to see a women's version of the TLC or the Money in the Bank match. Do you ever think we'll see an all-female Money in the Bank match?
Honestly, I don't know. For as far as gimmicks go, that might be too gimmicky of a gimmick.
Maybe. I don't know. I think they have enough talented women to pull off a great match. But anyways, enough about us running our mouth and stuff, man. Let's go ahead. Are we ready to call our first guest, Kev, or tonight's guest?
I think we are ready to call tonight's guest.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wrestling Nerdcast is proud tonight to present to you our guest for the night. Not only is he a wrestling manager, but he is a radio host / personality. This man is an actor, and right now he is one of the hottest rising brands, not only in professional wrestling, but in entertainment, period. This guy is controversy. When people talk about controversy creates cash, they are talking about our guest tonight, and I'm so proud to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to you Nick D.
Cut your cut, man. You know what? The interview's pretty much over, man. You just said everything. You just said everything in the introduction. I don't have anything to talk about now. What the heck, man?
Everybody. Yeah, everything's going good, man. How you doing tonight?
Man, I can't complain, man. Just taking it easy. Some days, I guess with the introduction, when you say I do so much stuff, I need to take a day off. I guess this is like a day off for me. So I'm taking a day off tonight, just relaxing.
Yeah, I was like, when I hit you up with stuff, man, when I asked you this guest, I was like, man, I don't know, he has the wrestling manager, 3 to 4 nights a week. He has a radio show going on Wednesday nights. He has Nick D at night, late night Wednesday nights. As far as I know, like keeping up with it, y'all are in the process of getting to record season 3 of the show, right? Of Heaven, right?
Yeah, season 3 for Heaven's coming this, probably it'll be out this summer. But yeah, we're getting ready to record that, so that's going to be, we had a meeting last week about it. All I can tell people is, if you thought season 2 was great, season 3 beats that out the water. I mean, I don't even want to spoil it for everybody, but it's huge. So be on the lookout for that. YouTube.com/Robbie Wrights. This spring, probably summer.
All right, well, look, man, before we get to talking about the TV show and the radio show, because, of course, we got to put you over, baby, we're going to talk some wrestling right now. Like, first of all, what's a brief synopsis of, how you got into the wrestling business, why you wanted to become a wrestling manager, and who really brought you into the business?
Well, I got started, remember the date, December 1st, 2012. I went to a couple of CWF shows because Chris Lee, he was wrestling in the area. Me and Chris go back before wrestling, back to radio days. He told me to come and check out a couple of shows, so I did. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I've always been a wrestling fan, so I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. How can I get involved with this? So I tried to go through the back door route of saying, because I have a degree in public relations, trying to go the back door route. I told him that I could come in and help them with the PR, thinking that, if I helped them do some promotion, they would kind of let me come in that way. Well, they found out I did a radio show, and I got to be a big kudos to Danny Winkle and Jeff Rudd. They put me on the spot. They had me interview Nick Richards at the time, and I just did what I do on the radio. I just talked, and that went over well with them, so they brought me in. It's kind of like their backstage interview, promote the next shows. I got to give big shout-outs to this man, Corey Etzel, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this at all. Well, I started doing commentary with Corey at CWF. We caught a couple of matches. So I told Corey, I really don't want to do this. I really want to be a manager because I knew I could talk. I had a gift for gab. And so I hit up Corey. Corey said, I'll get back to you. And he hit me up probably, I want to say February 15th. He hit me up and said, hey, we're running a show in Eden called EAW. I want you to come up here. I'm going to give you this angle we're going to do. We're going to kind of do the affirmative action 2 count like the Gangsters did back at Smoky Mountain. We're going to do that up here with this kid, Bobby Yella. Come up here, and we'll work it out. So that's how I got started managing. And then after that, shout out to Mark James as well. Started taking me on the road, telling me I was going to manage him. And as they say, the rest is history.
I'm about to say, speaking of Mark James and Bobby Yella and stuff, man, you you have dubbed yourself, the manager of champions and stuff, and you've managed, especially in North Carolina, you managed some pretty amazing guys, man. Scrapyard Dog, the Brutes, Mark James and Jimmy Parker, my homeboy, my former tag team partner, Joseph Agal, formerly known as Joe Black. Is there anybody that you really haven't, that you wanted to manage that you haven't managed yet?
Well, you forgot I also managed a certain, guy by the name of Incredible Huck. Well, Huckabee too. Just throwing that out there as well. I managed him
I wasn't going to put myself over like that. You know what I'm saying?
But who would I want to manage that I haven't on the indie scene? Honestly, that's a tough question. Man, you're not supposed to put me on the spot like that. Who would I want to manage that I haven't managed on the indie scene? Honestly, there is nobody I can think of right offhand because I've actually managed people that I wanted to. I got to manage the guy that got me in here, Corey Etzel. I managed Chris Lee, but like you said, I managed the Brutes. I managed the Outlaws. Like it's all of my friends I've managed before, so there really isn't nobody I could think of right offhand. I think now I'm at the point in my career where I want it to where it makes sense, where I'm able to enhance the person I'm managing, or we have like that Bobby Heenan, Mr. Perfect, where we can play off each other, or Bobby Heenan and Rick Rude. So I really can't think of anybody right offhand.
Now speaking of Bobby Heenan, speaking of Bobby Heenan, man, everybody, different managers have different styles. They have different influences and stuff. You can definitely tell, for anybody who watches you and step around the ring, you can definitely tell that you are heavily influenced by Bobby Heenan, which is why I always tell guys, and of course you've heard me tell guys, who young and upcoming managers, hey, look, if you want to know how to be a good manager, somebody you need to watch. Nick D. Nick D's one of the best managers on the East Coast, not just in North Carolina, but on the East Coast. He's one of the best managers. He knows how to get heat. He knows how to talk. He knows how to get his guys over. And I've told promoters, hey, look, you got this green guy, put him with Nick D. Nick will get him over, whether it's a babyface or as a heel. But tell us, who are some of your wrestling influences when it comes to managing? Who do you study that helps you become as good as you become?
I would honestly say I study Gary Hart. The reason why I study Gary Hart is because Gary Hart knew how to talk. And when I first started with acting, I just used to yell all the time. So I've kind of learned now with acting and basically with managing and talking, you don't have to yell to get your point across. And Gary Hart never yelled to get his point across. Of course, I've got to say, because I'm black, I've got to say Slick. I mean, we've all, you know what I'm saying? So Slick was one of the first guys to do it. So I'm one of the first African Americans to do it. So definitely him. But I would say more Gary Hart. Like I watch Gary Hart all the time. If I'm managing a guy like Zane Dawson, I watch Gary Hart and Bruiser Brody. If I'm managing Lewis Moore, I'll watch Gary Hart and Terry Funk. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you have to watch who you're managing. You have to watch a guy that you can pick parts of. If there's somebody very arrogant, I watch Bobby Heenan to see how Bobby Heenan reacts with like a Kurt Hennig or a Rick Rude. So you just have to take different stuff. But I would say I mostly study a lot of Gary Hart.
See, now that's crazy, man, because you don't hear a lot of guys. And Kev, I'm going to tell you this right now. Nick is not that old. Nick is still in his 20s and stuff. So for you to say that you're heavily influenced by Gary Hart is amazing. Because most people say, Bobby Heenan, Paul Heyman, guys of that era and stuff, very rarely. I've had more guys say they were influenced by Paul Ellering than Gary Hart, not realizing that Paul Ellering was a huge fan of Gary Hart and stuff. He used to get, advice and critique from Gary Hart, especially when Gary Hart was in the Texas territory and stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Like, a lot of times, like, a lot of people don't understand how much Gary Hart had influence. Like, they would pick guys, like you said, they would pick guys that they need to get over. Hey, we're going to put Gary Hart with them. And Gary Hart would manage like a Kabuki or Chris Adams or, somebody like that. Like, he would be put with somebody to get that person over as a heel. And then, I would go back and watch some of the stuff he did with Chris Adams, which was great. A lot of people sleep on World Class, but some of the stuff he did there, the stuff he did with Muda, the stuff he did with Missing Link, like, you have to watch how Gary Hart talks. And then he, was managing some guy, I can't remember, but he was talking about how the guy was so big in Texas over the Von Erichs. I almost believed him. I was like, wow, I really hate the Von Erich interviews. So, I mean, you have to watch a lot of the things that Gary Hart would talk about. And I think that's why he was big. God rest the dead, of course. But, you know, that's why he was so vocal, because he could talk and he could persuade you with his talk, but it wasn't, I'm yelling, I'm going to come out and just yell on the microphone. But he would talk very eloquently and make you say, wow, I hate this person. I hate him, but I especially hate the guy he's working with because of the way he could talk.
Now, you know, people look at that, you say your feels like Gary Hart and stuff, man. And then when people see you, you look nothing like Gary Hart. Especially now today, they discover a lot of men is getting back to wearing the suit or the sports coat and slacks, and you are not at all. You are, Cam, this guy, I guess Nick D, you're seeing him look like he's straight out of a Run DMC music video, man. You got the Adidas tracksuit, you got the shell toe Adidas's, got the thick heavy gold rope chain, the gold gazelles, whatever. Sometimes you're wearing a hat, sometimes you're not. But you're always wasting jewelry with the Adidas tracksuit on. Sometimes you're wearing a shirt, sometimes you're letting the chest hair out.
Yeah, you're right.
What, you know, why did you decide to go the opposite way of what everybody else was doing? And more specifically, why did you decide to, for lack of a better word, why did you decide to just more hip-hop?
Well, because, I mean, at first I was struggling with it because I thought that, you know, a manager should always dress up. Well, it was funny because I was at a show. I first, like, I'm going to do something different. Let's start wearing, you know, I was wearing the bow tie and suspenders because nobody on any circuit, manager-wise, was wearing that, and I thought it was cool. So I remember I was at a show in Lumberton. Mark Gaines came up to me and said, you know what? It's the shirt. Go completely topless, but with your suspenders. I was like, man, I'm going to get laughed at. This is not going to work. I'm going to be laughed at and people are going to joke at me. He was like, but that's what you're supposed to do as a heel. You're supposed to make people laugh at you because a heel is someone that they hate and you have to play off of that. So I did it at a show and it was over. But I said, nah, I don't really like that. So I was still struggling about what I wanted to do. And I think I was at a show. Honestly, Brad starts told me, he's like, man, if you're going to wear a tracksuit, you should get like the old Adidas like tracksuits. And he was just saying it, just talking. And I was like, okay. And I just left it alone. And so one day I just started wearing them. And now I bought like different colored tracksuits. But you just have to, and partially goes to the personality too. One of the things that I tell a lot of like guys coming up, your character should be some type of emulation of you. I host a hip hop radio show. I like hip hop music. It doesn't make sense for me to come out in a suit all the time because I'm not going to be the stereotypical businessman. I have clients, things like that. I'm going to wear a tracksuit. I'm a hip hop guy. I hang with my guys aren't clients. They're my boys. They're guys I hang out with. We drink with. We party with. That's what I look at it as. So I just want to be different because what happens is when you start calling them clients, everybody will say, oh, well, that's Paul Heyman. But if you're saying, or, you know, if you say we're part of a family, it's always knockoff of Bobby Heenan. But if I come out and say, hey, I'm just hanging out with my boys, or these are my guys right here, now it makes it look like a part of your own. And then that makes you look like you're able to play off the character more. And plus, it goes with the persona. Like I said, listen to hip-hop music, you know, my thing is I'm a celebrity. So I dress like a celebrity and hang with guys and make them celebrities. That's what we do.
Oh, man, so you try to say you're more, what's his name, Artie from Entourage than anything else?
Right. That's how I am. Like I said, when I was first coming up, I thought about being the money man, you know, but every manager on the indie circuit is some type of businessman tycoon that has money that pays for his quote-unquote services for a certain guy. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. That's played out. And like I said, the times are changing. That's why managers aren't used much because it's like, okay, what are we going to say? Well, he's J.J. Farnsworth from Dallas, Texas, and he's the money man. He's the money millionaire because he's got all this money and he wants to buy clients. It's played out. People get tired of that. But he comes see this dude in an Adidas tracksuit, tight tracksuit. Who the heck does he think he is? But why is he hanging with these cowboy rednecks? Okay, that's different. I've never seen that before. But why is he hanging with these big buff white dudes? Okay, I've not seen this before. which makes you stand out, which makes people pay more attention to.
Now, do you think that, the role of a manager, or just managers in general, do you think it's making a comeback? We've seen women's wrestling make a comeback in professional wrestling, especially WWE. We're seeing, tag teams starting to make a huge comeback on the indie circuit, and WWE is starting to, gear more towards actual tag teams, not two guys they just put together. Besides, Paul Heyman, we don't see a lot of managers in WWE. But do you think in the next, in the next couple of years, we're gonna start seeing more managers, more legit managers? Because a lot of times, and you've seen it too, some guy has his girlfriend or his buddy and stuff walk into the ring and say, "This is my manager." But do you actually think that we're gonna start seeing a rise in actual managers such as yourself, not only in the Indies but in WWE?
I think we will. I'll never say that we won't, but I think it's going to take for what Paul Ellering is doing now with those two guys in NXT. When you constantly keep seeing it, and it also depends too on if the WWE finds people that can talk and you're putting them with people. Like, for all intents and purposes, Enzo is kind of like, when he's not tagging with Cass, he's kind of like his manager, because Cass can talk, but he doesn't talk effectively more than Enzo does. Paul Heyman talks for Brock Lesnar, even though Brock Lesnar not that good on the mic. You'll have more of that if there's more people that have that raw talent, but they can't talk on the microphone. The problem is, you got a lot of guys that are coming up now that can wrestle and can talk on the microphone, so they don't need it. So, the only thing that you can do now is put a hot chick with them, but, you know what I'm saying, that's going to get played out. So do I see it? I absolutely will. It's just that you're going to have to see more participants that can't talk well but can wrestle. And that's when we'll start seeing that more, because it's just like right now, everybody can talk. You know, a microphone, they can talk. So it really is a need for a manager.
Now, speaking of talking, our listeners, and I had it down here in Peach Silver, and I can't find it, but I know you know it by heart. Wednesday nights, they can go online. They don't live in the Greensboro area and stuff. They can definitely hear you talk every Wednesday night for the Nick D at Night show. First of all, give everybody the link to where they can hear you live, and tell us, where does that fit in with the whole Nick D brand? And do you use that, is that good practice for when you're wrestling?
All right, well, I'll plug that first. First, you check it out Wednesday nights, 10 p.m., 90.9 FM, WQFS in Greensboro. If you're not in the area, there's a TuneIn app. Just browse it, search for North Carolina, United States, North Carolina, Greensboro, 90.9 will pop up on there. I actually was doing radio before I got into wrestling. So I did that from about 2007 to about 2013, and I took a break because, like I said, I was focusing on wrestling. And then I was just sitting at home one day, and I was like, you know what? I've interviewed a lot of big-name people, and to me, I treat the college radio grind just like indie wrestling. I don't work at a commercial station, so I didn't have the commercial contact. But I was able to make contact with interviews with some pretty big-name people in the industry, and then I just started doing the radio show. So technically, I've been doing it for 10 years. And like I said, it helps with the wrestling because it gets me talking. It keeps people knowing about me, so it makes people want to tune into what I'm talking about, which makes people want to tune in to the radio, then I get to plug wrestling. So it's basically my show. I do what I want, so I can plug the wrestling show as well. Excuse me. And so I get to do a little bit of all. So I get to plug the wrestling. It keeps my brand known out there so that people know who I am. So I think it helps a little bit. It helps a little bit of both ways.
Now, speaking of wrestling, man, because, of course, if anybody follows you on social media, you're always inviting people to come onto the show, whether just to talk about wrestling or to talk about the upcoming shows they got, or to air out their grievances, man. And, I'm not gonna bring up the actual names of the people or whatever, but it always seems like, Nick D's always right there like, hey, if y'all want to, you can always come on my show and talk about your grievances and air your grievances out and stuff. And when it comes to radio, you always say that you're highly influenced by Howard Stern and everything like that. Have you noticed in the radio business, that controversy does create cash just as much as it does in wrestling?
Yeah, to me it does. Like, I didn't realize it, and I can tell you this. I used to think at one point, bad publicity is just the worst thing ever. But then this weekend, I was in the locker room with Ricky Morton, and Ricky Morton told me this one thing. And since then, I started looking back at all the stuff I do, and I was like, you know what? He's right. A lot of people asked him because he did the tag team Apocalypto thing, and they told him how bad he did it, how bad he shouldn't have done it, how crazy and stupid it was. And Ricky Morton said? Ricky Morton told us in the locker room, he said, any publicity is good publicity. And I thought about what he said, and I went home and started watching, like listening to some of the clips and things I did, and I was like, I started thinking about it. I said, my radio show can get a little explicit because we talk about sex, we talk about relationships, we talk about threesomes. I mean, there's a lot of different sexual things that we talk about that a lot of people would be like, oh, my gosh, you're talking about this on regular radio. But like Ricky Morton said, any publicity that I do, that I talk about the radio, is actually producing the brand, which is actually making people pay attention, which is actually saying, oh, this is the same guy that manages, oh, I'm going to tune in. I'm now going to wrestling shows, and people ask me about the radio show. I got guys that are coming up to me, workers that are coming up to me at the show, like, man, I love the show, man. What are you going to talk about next week? So to me, it's not a pop for the boys, but it lets me know the show is getting over. You know what I'm saying?
It definitely gets over. Of course, we know, man. Look, because, ladies and gentlemen, not only can you watch it, you can listen to the show on the Tune app, but also you can follow. Make sure, if you can't set single friend request, I'm pretty sure Nick D is close to the 5,000 friends limit on Facebook. You definitely follow him on Facebook and stuff. And at 10 o'clock, is it 10 or 11? 11 o'clock? At 11 o'clock, Nick D usually goes live on Facebook, and that's where it's all out, balls to the wall. It's definitely rated mature, if not rated R. Just everything, everything out in the open, he's interacting with his fans, they're throwing out topics. I mean, stuff gets pretty intense at 11 o'clock on Nick D's Facebook live broadcast. Have you ever gotten any backlash from what goes on? You have any backlash through wrestling because of what goes on in the show?
Not really. I did have a promoter, me and a promoter, and I'll give a little backstory. Basically, an incident went down at a show, and one of the promoters at a different wrestling company, he came and said something on Facebook about, I guess, for lack of better terms, he felt as though things were being disrespected. Well, I told that promoter, I said, you should come on my show and we can talk about it. They had a platform to air out their grievances towards you. You should come on my show and air out their grievances towards me. Well, then this weekend, that same promoter had put up a status about something. And so I took a shot at him, and he came on my Facebook page and basically took shots at me and said he didn't want to come on my show because he felt as though that I was trying to make him talk about, put me over, and he didn't want to do it. So I messaged him, and me and him went back and forth, and we basically squared up everything. It was a miscommunication on my end, but not really promoters, but I know that some people are scared that they are afraid of what I might talk about on air, how it represents their company. I've actually had other workers tell me that they don't, they're kind of scared that what I'm talking about might, be looked at negatively. But like I tell people at the end of the day, Nick D, the radio personality, isn't Nick D, the wrestling manager, or isn't Nick D, the actor. They're all Nick D, and yes, they're a part of the brand, but they're different parts of it. And if you're getting offended when I talk about on the radio show, 9 times out of 10, it's what people are thinking about. They're just scared to say it. And I'm not scared to say it because I'm going to give people the platform. So technically, no, but I did have an incident this weekend, and I did get cleared. And by the way, that guy, I haven't told anybody, this is the first breaking news on your show. The guy that I had the incident with is actually coming on my show next month, and we're going to talk it out live on air. So.
Oh man, that's gonna be so awesome. You definitely got to blow it up. And if you want to, you can come back up here for a couple of minutes or whatever, and definitely promote that, because that's definitely going to be an interview that a lot of fans are going to hear. Because I know who you're talking about, and that guy is definitely well known, not only in North Carolina, but on the East Coast. Period. Now, speaking about the Nick D brand, this is season 2 of Heaven. You've been on the show since the start of it. Why get into acting, man? Why, you already had the radio, you already got wrestling, you got your shoot job, and now you're acting. So, why add another, why put another hat on top of your head, man? Why get into acting?
Well, that's the thing. I was doing acting before I got into wrestling. So actually, I was doing the acting thing, which then led me doing the radio, which then wrestling led to that. And I always tell people, too, that the acting has kind of helped with wrestling because you're learning theater and you're learning different things. I've been acting for about 11 years, something like 15, between 10 and 11 years. And what happened was I started doing it with this company, and we did, like, plays and short movies and things like that. And so actually that has kind of helped me with my wrestling career because I've learned to seek the emotion from the crowd. And you'll be put in scenes with different people, whether it be male or female, and you'll learn to evoke an emotion out of that person, which will cause them to evoke an emotion out of you, which then in turn will create the audience. I've also learned to,
Now, how is it that I've known you for, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and I didn't know you were acting before wrestling, man?
Yeah, like I said, it's just one of those, I don't go around, like, if anything, and a lot of people don't know, this is another breaking that nobody really knows about me. Really, I stay to myself. Like, as much as I'm out in the public, like, if I'm not dealing with wrestling or something like that, I'm really kind of to myself, man. Like, I go to work, and my shoot job, I'll do my radio thing every Wednesday. If I'm not studying for lines for a play, then I'm traveling the weekends for wrestling. But other than that, man, I'm really just really normal. People don't really believe that about me, but that's how I am, man. So yeah, I've been doing acting for about 10 years. Been doing that, and so we did the first season of Heaven, and it was great. But we felt like season 2 could be a lot better. And so if everybody goes back and on YouTube.com/Robbie Wright, you go back and watch season 2, you'll see at the end, Mark James, shout out to him again, throws me in the trunk. And he tells me to eat a damn salad. And that's how season 2 ends. So if you can only imagine how that ends, you can't wait to see season 3. And I can tell you season 3 is going to have a lot of sex in season 3.
Now go ahead. Now, go ahead and tell our listeners and stuff what your character is for Heaven. I enjoy it. The only other character I enjoy more than yours might be Mark James, just because I can, you see Mark and you know him in real life, and you see him on the screen and you're like, oh, God, that actually might be his real life job. Like, I feel like he's done that before.
Yeah, definitely.
But go ahead and explain, your character and stuff on the show.
Brad, I play a character named Brad, and basically Brad is the owner of an entertainment company. And Heaven, he slept with Heaven several years, like they've had an affair. And what has happened is, he's been sleeping with Heaven, but Heaven's had an ulterior motive because she reports to a guy named Gavin, who reports to a guy named Mr. B, who Drake works for Mr. B. And basically, Gavin's been trying to get information about my entertainment company. I'm not letting him have it. So in season 2, you see me trying to cohort and try to make sure that I keep that information. So I tried to hire somebody against him, and it backfired. So that's basically how the Brad character is, which is, again, it's a play off of me being an entertainment company, me being in entertainment, with the wrestling, with the acting, with the radio. So everything that I do is, like I said, everything's full circle. It intertwines in all of it, in any, different shapes. When this character being involved with entertainment, dealing with celebrities. I'm a radio personality, so I deal with celebrities. I'm doing acting, that deals with celebrities. So wrestling deals with celebrities. So everything all intertwines to each other.
Now, the Nick D brand, is there anything, you're like a triple threat. You're almost like the new age Renaissance man. You wrestle, radio, acting, and all of this, and I consistently hear you talk about the Nick D brand. And of course, as wrestlers and stuff, me and you have both been to the Brutal Bob Evans seminars, and that's something that Bob always talks about is building your brand and thinking about yourself as a business. Don't sell wrestling, don't sell radio, don't sell, acting, sell yourself. Sell yourself as what people want to see. What is the Nick D brand, and what's the next evolution of the Nick D brand?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you've been under a rock, it's okay. If you guys haven't had the folders, it's okay. Next year, I'm going to bring the radio show to television. So we're really about to launch the Nick at Night television show. We're going to start locally on public access, and that's going to be more interactive. So if you imagine the Facebook Live, it's going to be a little bit of the Facebook Live meets actual seeing it live. So it's going to be, I don't really want to give out too much, but that's coming next year. We're also working on the Nick D documentary. That's going to be dope. Somebody pitched the idea to me. Said, man, you need to do a documentary. You haven't been involved in all this stuff. You need to, put it on film or something. So we're in the process of writing that up. So that's coming out next year too. Just whatever I can do, man. I definitely want to, I want to get into producing films and different things like that. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So there's a lot of things I'm trying to work and develop and put money up to bring forth so I can continuously push the Nick D brand, but also help push others, their brand as well. So that's basically what I'm doing right now.
Now, what about as far as wrestling? What's the next evolution in wrestling? Are you going to start doing I want to say, and I would like to see Nick D on national TV. I think that, and I tell people all the time, I think that the two best managers, definitely in North Carolina, are you and D. Tommy Thomas. And we're not going to talk about him. We're not putting him over right now. If he wants to get put over, he can go on the damn show. We're talking about Nick D. But when are we going to see, what's the next step for Nick D when it comes to professional wrestling? You got these contacts, man. You're meeting all these people and stuff, and your name's in a lot of people's mouths and stuff. What's next for Nick D when it comes to wrestling?
Well, the wrestling, man, we're just, like I said, still working shows. It's kind of like I kind of got some ideas from several other wrestlers. So we're going to continue the tracksuit thing, but that may be also disappear for a little bit in 2017 with another look that I don't think people are doing. So that's going to come out next year. Man, like I said, still working different promotions, man. I'm going to be, like I said, still in Greensboro, still in North Carolina, West Virginia, wherever people want to book me, if you need somebody to get over, bring heat, I'll be there. Like I said, you never know what may happen. If I get that call, to go to, Florida or, that other call from ROH, then we'll see. Shout out to my boy Stokely Hathaway who was, doing ROH and I would evolve and different things like that, man. So it's, like I said, it's whatever, man. Like I said, I'm not, the sky's the limit as far as wrestling is concerned. I'll be anywhere, but I don't want people to think that I'm not focusing on wrestling because a lot of people have said that to me too since I've been back on radio. Oh, Nick, you don't care about wrestling no more. Oh, you care about this other stuff. No. It's just everything has to be strategic. And the things that I'm putting in place now are going to help with the wrestling.
Now, I wasn't going to bring them up, but since you already did, and I'm already, kind of threw you under the bus by saying you're controversial. Is there room in ROH for Nick D and Stokely Carmichael at the same time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Stokely's my boy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about competition. I look at Stokely Hathaway. He's like LeBron James, but I'm like Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? So, it's
she's trying to say you were the first guy to get
LeBron arguably is, or if you look at it like, I look at him as Tom Brady, that's great, but I'm like Derek Carr or anybody else that's up and coming. Like I'm like Dak Prescott. I'm hot right now. So, he might be the guy that's hot, you know what I'm saying? But you can't sleep on that up and coming guy too. So, that's how I look at it. Like, I think it'll be room for it, But a competition is always great. People ask me that all the time. Oh, man, you're here with Tommy Thomas and all these other people. People say, oh, man, with Nick D, you just going to – no. I believe in competition. That's how you become better. If these guys are getting opportunities and I get those opportunities, that's great because I'll ask Stokely what I can do different, and Stokely will give me pointers. Stokely will tell me about different things to go to. And truthfully told, here's another nugget that people don't really know in your show. Stokely's actually from the North Carolina Triad area. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, I knew that. He's from, I want to say he's from Fuquay-Varina, isn't he?
He might be. I think so.
I want to say from either there or Durham. I want to say that's where he's from.
Yeah, so, he's here a lot. We talk a lot. I talk to Tommy Thomas a lot. Like, there's no issue with that, but I feel like it's like healthy competition. There's going to always be a LeBron James or a Tom Brady, but you're always going to have your Kevin Durant, your Steph Currys, your Dak Prescott, your Cam Newtons. You're still going to have those players. You know what I'm saying? But that's what makes their sport, the NFL and the NBA, great. I think that's what will make ROH or any other wrestling promotion great is when you have those different talents in there.
Now, two things before I leave. First of all, I want you to share all your social media, everything you got going on, so our listeners and our fans can become your listeners, your fans, because I love the Nick D at Night show. I tune in on the TuneIn app. Even if I'm not on Facebook Live or whatever, check it out Facebook Live, I definitely make sure that I got the TuneIn app going on and stuff. I'm listening to the show because your DJ always has the music blasting and pumping, always gets me in the mood, whether I'm trying to get in the bedroom or I'm trying to get to the gym. So give us your social media stuff real quick, man.
So Facebook is easy, Nick D Radio City. Twitter is Nick D Radio City. The other Twitter, the wrestling Twitter, is the Alpha Manager. People ask me why I got two. Long story. But I got two. So you can Nick D the Radio Show, the Nick D Radio City, the Twitter. The Alpha Manager is the one for the wrestling. Instagram, Classic Heat. It's self-explanatory. I'm a classiest man in wrestling, but I also bring the heat. So Classic Heat. I'm everywhere else, man. You can follow. Then I'll post something from Snapchat and everywhere else. So I'm everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. The only one I'm not on is Tumblr, but I just don't feel like writing blog posts all day. So I think I'm everywhere else but that.
All right. So what you got coming up in the next coming weeks, man? Anything big?
Let's see. Well, we got January. We're back in Pelham. February, I am in High Volume Pro Wrestling, managing the Barbarian. They're introducing the Legends title there, so I'll be managing him in that particular division. February 25th and 26th is the Crossroads play, and then we're shooting season 3 of Heaven. So, yes, I would probably be locked up in a room somewhere from probably now until June. So I'll probably have like this big bushy beard or something with my hair growing all the way out, and afro and things like that. So if you see me just speak, just know it's something going. I'm always up to something.
Well, hey, man, I'm about to ask our final question for the night, man. You feel like sticking around to answer the question?
Yeah, cool.
All right. Kev, you want to participate in this?
Sure.
All right. Christmas is coming up this weekend. If you could have one thing from Wrestling Santa Claus, what would it be? And I'll go ahead and start with our guest first. Nick D, what is on your Wrestling Santa Claus list?
Nia Jax under my Christmas tree, butt naked with a bow. Somebody, what else? I want, give me the whole complete set of Survivor Series from 90 until, I guess the 90s. Just give me 89 to 92. That's when it was good to me. Give me, I'd probably say, oh man, this is a tough one. Wrestling Santa Claus, can he give me a autograph from Slick? And I'm trying to do 2 more things. One, can he give me tickets to NXT just because I've never been there? I want to go to that. And then the 5th one would probably be, that's a tough one. I'd probably say, let me go back to talk to Gary Hart for probably 15 minutes.
Word. Kev, if you had, a couple of things to ask Wrestling Santa to put underneath your wrestling tree, what would it be?
I want all my wrestling figures from my childhood back. I had a great collection. I don't know which company made these, but in the mid to late 80s, I actually had a collection of wrestling figures of guys who were mostly associated with AWA and Jim Crockett era of NWA and Mid-Atlantic area. I had the Freebirds, I had the Four Horsemen. I just had, me and my brothers just had this whole collection of wrestling figures that were not WWF guys, and it was just entirely awesome. And also I want all of the custom robes and shirts and pants and ring apparel that my mother actually sewed together for us.
Wow.
One Christmas, she actually, took various scraps of clothing. She would sew in her spare time. And one Christmas, she took a bunch of scrap and sewed us together the awesomest collection of shorts, pants, shirts, robes, and masks for all of our wrestlers, and we would interchange them in and out, and whatever wrestlers we'd had, we just made whole new wrestlers.
Jesus. Man, I'm kind of jealous about his list. Let's see. I would say I would want the entire collection of wrestling buddies. I remember I had Hogan and Road Warrior Animal when I was a kid, but I would like the entire collection of wrestling buddies. I would also like for Vince McMahon to load up the entire library of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling when Jim Cornette had it, specifically because I've only seen a piece of it, but there's a tape. I'm pretty sure a fan of there has a tape with Nick Dinsmore versus Chris Benoit. They went an hour inside the Louisville Garden, and I've heard it's one of the greatest matches never freaking seen. So I would like the entire collection of Smoky Mountain Wrestling on the WWE Network. And then last but not least, I think my biggest gift that Wrestling Santa could bring me is Steve Corino in the Royal Rumble. Ever since he got signed on as a trainer, that's been one of my biggest wishes, is that in the Royal Rumble, one of the surprise guests is Steve Corino making an appearance. I would love to see Steve Corino in a WWE ring, and that's about it.
Hey,
anyway,
let me throw this out here
yes.
real quick. Since we've got the wishes to Santa, can we have wishes to Krampus?
Oh man.
I'm gonna throw this one out here right now. Krampus, you can take Dixie Carter. You can just drag her away by her heels. Tie her to your sled. Just whip her ass all the way back to wherever you take all the bad kids.
All right, Nick. So he already started it. One person that you could give the Krampus, who would it be? One person in wrestling. Who would you get rid of?
Who could I get rid of? Man, I try to be so PC, guys.
It's okay. We are an unrated show, so.
I'm definitely not PC. I would probably say all the indie egos, even though it won't happen, of all the indie egos of all the promotions in North Carolina. Just get rid of all of them. Just get rid of all their egos for just like a whole year. That'd be great.
No, we're not letting you get rid of it. You have one person. Come on, Nick. You gotta be controversial. One person that you could get rid of out of wrestling and give the Krampus. Who would it be? I'm not letting you get out of this one.
You don't let me get out of this one. One person I get rid of.
Or okay, how about this? If you don't want to name a person, you could do something else in wrestling. Like maybe it was like the worst match ever, or worst angle.
I'll give a person.
Okay.
As much as I like this person's upbringing, just get rid of David Otunga for me off SmackDown. I like David. He has a hot wife, but his voice is so annoying on SmackDown. Like he's like, yo, John. I was watching it today. I was like, really? This is stupid. Like he's trying to be super uber babyface. No, just go chill with your hot wife and you can go make some babies and we'll be good. Or do some backstage stuff. But the wrestling, yeah. I mean, commentary, no.
All right, let's see. If I could get rid of Krampus, what would I give the Krampus? I would ask him to take away. Man, there's so many things I don't like in wrestling. I don't know if I can say one. Johnny Fairplay. Can we get rid of Johnny fucking Fairplay on any wrestling show?
Wait.
Can we get rid of Johnny fucking Fairplay on any wrestling show?
Hold up, Will. He is still a thing in 2016?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Still a thing.
How the hell did that happen?
I don't know. But can we please get rid of Johnny fucking Fairplay?
Who thought that was a good idea?
We're not going to mention the promoter because I actually adore the promoter, and he's one of my favorite promoters to work for. And even when I'm not wrestling, I go to a show to support him, and I actually buy a ticket. Unlike a lot of boys that go there, I actually buy a ticket to go to a show. But can we please get rid of Johnny fucking Fairplay? There are very few guys that I despise in wrestling, and he is at the top of the list of guys that I despise in professional wrestling. He is. I have no problem with the boys having a beer or two before the show to loosen up. And I have no problem with, somebody going over on time if your segment is hot. but this guy's consistently unprofessional. And I've never seen him be professional. Period. He is a huge stain on the wrestling business, and he turns away more fans than his fuck ass name would ever draw.
Wow.
There you go.
Hey, Will, I'm gonna hijack the show here. I'm gonna throw out one more question there for you, because the guys from Thursday Night AMP, we started getting into this discussion this afternoon. So I'm gonna throw this out here just for a little bit of fun and just to see what everybody here thinks. If you could form a new stable and you take one singles wrestler, 2 tag team wrestlers, and 1 female wrestler from any era, any promotion, anytime, anywhere, who are you throwing together?
Wow.
And I'll throw mine out there. Going with the current WWE product. I know I can go anytime, anywhere, but I think focus on the current WWE product. I think you would have a strong stable of Finn Balor, Sheamus, Cesaro, and Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I would go with AJ Styles, The Revival, and Nia Jax.
Oh, you said Nia Jax. Oh my goodness. You done something to me. Man,
you triggered him.
Yes, you did. I'm gonna be different, man. Give me DiBiase. DiBiase. Damn, I just had it. Now I gotta think of another one. Never mind, scratch that. Give me Kurt Hennig, the Hart Foundation, and oh boy. I'll take Charlotte. Yeah, I'll take Charlotte.
Now here's a different combination I threw out there. An all TNA team, AJ Styles, America's Most Wanted, and Awesome Kong.
Yes,
that's pretty badass too.
I would say TNA, it would have to be Samoa Joe, Beer Money, and Gail Kim.
Now, see, I thought of an alternate of that. I went with Samoa Joe and Gail Kim, but for the tag team, Motor City Machine Guns.
You can't beat Bobby Roode, man. Like, God, Bobby Roode is so amazing. You can't. Oh. All right, what about you, Nick D? TNA. If you didn't watch the product. I'm about to say, do you even watch TNA?
That's what I'm about to say. I'm about to say, when you guys say that, the only ones I know, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Gunner. Yeah, and then the guys that came over from WWE. Sorry, it just wasn't my thing. It's not that I just didn't watch the product. It's just, I guess to me, and this goes back to another, probably to my interview time, but I was just a loyalist. I just couldn't watch anything else at the time, and that's what it was for me. So I didn't watch it.
What about an all AWA team?
Wow. Okay, I can do that. Give me Nick Bockwinkel. Give me the Midnight Express with Condrey and Eaton and Sherry Martel.
Now, see, I'm close to that because I would say Nick Bockwinkel, Sherry Martel, but then give me a combination of Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig as the tag team.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. And I don't here's an old school WWF one for you. Bruno Sammartino and Demolition and the Fabulous Moolah.
Wow.
All right, I would say, actually, I would say Johnny Rods would be my singles guy because I love Johnny Rods.
You would.
So Johnny Rods. Well, that's what I would. Like, Johnny Rods is the shit. Johnny Rods, can I use the Brainbusters?
Yeah.
Can I use them in the old school? Okay, so Johnny Rods, the Brainbusters, and then the Fabulous Moolah.
I keep going back and forth. I'm going to be different. I'm going to give me Rude. Give me Power and Glory. So I think that'll be a good dynamic.
Wow.
No, hear me out. Not on talent, but again, I'm a marketable guy. you got Power and Glory with Rude, and to me it would just be a good mesh of arrogance. And then I would probably say Moolah as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is your like your all ego team though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what it'd be for me. Like I wouldn't go challenge. It would be all WWE but all egos.
I mean that is so much ego that just might implode like Madison Square Garden.
Well, I'm mad that you kind of shot down my Johnny Rods comment, man, because Johnny Rods is the shit.
I'm just teasing you.
What?
You would probably you're probably the only person I'd know that would think of Johnny Rods.
Do you know?
I would have thought of him.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just give up before we say goodbye to everybody tonight. I'm just gonna let you know out there that at one point in time, the only other person that had more power to decide who came into the New York territory other than Bruno Sammartino was Johnny Rods. And Johnny Rods got paid almost as much as Bruno Sammartino did. Just thought y'all should put that out there. To this day, Johnny Rods still gets a check from Vince. Just thought y'all should know that. Yes. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks podcast. I'd like to say thank you to our guest tonight, the incredible, controversial actor, radio host, wrestling manager, soon-to-be TV host, Nick D. Nick, thanks for being on the show tonight, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I read people just thought, no sex is the safest sex, but if you have sex, wear a latex. You don't want to get that latex, and you don't want to get down burning text.
There you go, right there, ladies and gentlemen. For the greatest producer in all of wrestling podcast history, Killer Kev. For my co-host who couldn't be here with us tonight in the physicality, but he's here with us spiritually, Dane will be back here with us next week. I am the Incredible Huck. Next week, you can find me in Atlanta at AWE for sure. The year it's going to be me versus Joe Black. Also, the Carney versus the Kraken. Then I have Michael Elgin, Abelis from Lucha Underground. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Be safe. Have fun.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.